Imagine you are watching TV on a quiet morning. You are eating breakfast, getting ready for school or work. The news is on in the background. A live picture of New York City fills the screen. One of the tallest buildings in the world, the North Tower of the World Trade Center, is on fire. The newsreader says a plane might have crashed into it. People think it is a terrible accident. Then, while millions are watching, a second plane appears and flies straight into the other tower. In that instant, the whole world understands. This is not an accident. To see how we reached that moment, we need to look at the world before September 11th, 2001. On the surface, life in many places, especially in the United States, felt safe and normal. People worried about school, jobs, bills, and weekend plans. The new century had just begun. The internet was growing, and technology felt exciting. Many believed the biggest dangers were in the past, but underneath, there were already deep tensions and power struggles. Some countries were rich and strong, with big armies and global companies. Others were poor, hurt by past wars, or ruled by hard and unfair leaders. Fights over land, oil, and religion continued. The United States had soldiers, bases, and business interests in many countries. Some people saw this as a source of safety. Others felt angry and powerless, believing their lives were being shaped by distant powers. Anti-Sangera extremist groups grew, preaching that violent attacks were the answer. There were warnings and signals before 9/11s, though they did not look clear at the time. In different government offices, people had small pieces of information. Some reports spoke of a group called Al-Qaeda and its wish to attack inside the United States. A few future hijackers were already on watch lists. Some flight schools had noticed students who wanted to learn how to take off, but not how to land. Security experts had even warned, in general terms, about using planes as weapons. But these pieces were spread across many agencies. They were not put together in time, not shared well, or not treated as urgent. On the morning of September 11th, 2001, the sky over New York was clear and blue. Thousands of people rode elevators up into the Twin Towers for a normal workday. At airports, 4 planes took off like any other flight. Then, small groups of men took control of those planes, using simple tools and fear. At 8:46 a.m., the first plane crashed into the North Tower. 17 minutes later, the second plane hit the South Tower live on television. Not long after, a third plane hit the Pentagon near Washington, D.C., and a fourth crashed into a field in Pennsylvania after passengers fought back. In less than 2 hours, both towers collapsed. Huge clouds of dust rolled through the streets. Nearly 3,000 people were killed. Office workers, cleaners, visitors, pilots, flight attendants, firefighters, police officers, and many others. Around the world, people watched the same images again and again on TV: smoke, falling buildings, people running, rescuers covered in gray dust. There was shock, fear, sadness, and deep confusion. Children asked, "Why would anyone do this?" Many adults did not know how to answer. Very quickly, the U.S. government gave its official story of what had happened. Leaders said that Al-Qaeda, led by Osama bin Laden, had planned and carried out the attacks. The hijackers had trained to fly and acted in the name of their extremist beliefs. Al-Qaeda released messages taking credit, saying the attacks were a response to U.S. actions in the Muslim world. Many people accepted this explanation, especially because Al-Qaeda had been linked to earlier attacks. Some felt anger and demanded war. Others felt mostly grief and fear, worried about more planes, more bombs, more loss. Over time, as the first pain slowly turned into memory, some people began to ask harder questions. The attacks also had a huge effect on money and ordinary people's lives. Right after 9/11s, U.S. stock markets closed for several days. When they reopened, prices dropped sharply. People were afraid to fly, to travel, and to invest. Airlines, hotels, and tourism businesses were hit hard. Many workers lost jobs or saw their hours and pay cut. Small businesses near the World Trade Center were destroyed or forced to close. Savings and retirement funds fell in value. For many families, fear was not only about safety, but also about rent, food, and the future. At the same time, Falling prices created chances for those with a lot of money and power. Big investors and large companies with cash were able to buy stocks, buildings, and land at low prices, while others had to sell. Later, when markets recovered, the value of what they bought went up. In this way, some already rich and powerful groups became even richer after the crisis. This does not prove any secret plan, but it shows a common pattern. In big disasters, ordinary people usually lose more, while those with great resources can sometimes turn fear into profit. The world after 9/11 also saw major changes in laws and government powers. In the United States, new rules allowed security agencies to watch phone calls, emails, and travel more closely. Airports added strict checks, scanners, and long lines. A new department, Homeland Security, was created. Leaders said these steps were needed to stop future attacks. Some people felt safer. Others worried that privacy and freedom were being reduced. Human rights groups warned that some new powers allowed the government to hold people without clear charges and to watch large numbers of citizens at once. Wars followed as well. The United States and its allies went into Afghanistan to remove the Taliban government, which had allowed al-Qaeda to train there. Later, in 2003, the US and some partners invaded Iraq, saying it was a threat and might have dangerous weapons. Those weapons were never found, but the war continued for many years, costing many lives and huge amounts of money. These wars, and the rise in security fears, helped certain industries grow. Weapons makers, private security companies, technology firms that built scanners and surveillance tools, and contractors that supplied armies. For them, the post-9/11 world brought new budgets and long-term profits. The costs were carried largely by ordinary people, through taxes, debts, and cuts in other public services. All of this shows how one day of tragedy can change history, money, and power. After 9/11, some groups and industries gained wealth and influence, while many regular people paid the price in lives, in jobs, in savings, in higher costs, and sometimes in lost freedoms. This does not mean we should quickly blame any one person or believe every theory. But it does mean that when a great event changes the world, it is wise to look closely and ask calm, honest questions. Who suffered most? Who gained new power or profit? Which laws changed? And why? Were all decisions made only for safety, or were other interests also involved? These are fair questions in any big moment in history. When we remember 9/11, we should honor the people who died and the families who still carry that pain. At the same time, we can learn from what happened. Big tragedies do not only touch our hearts, they also shape our laws, our money, and our balance of power. By thinking, learning, and asking questions instead of accepting every story without thought, we become more aware and more responsible. In this way, we show respect for truth, for justice, and for every human life touched by that day.